Hi, it's Bill Cohen for Straight Circle Martial Arts, and this is 3 ways to joint lock. What I find is in most joint locking systems, when they first start, especially the harder styles, joint locking is muscle. So what happens is people grab, and people muscle the techniques, and they tear on things, and they try to crank through things, because it takes years to learn really refined skills. So the majority of people I watch who do joint locks muscle things. The problem with muscling is when you tense, he tenses, and it gets significantly harder to joint lock, and it turns into who's stronger. So if you're 220 pounds and you're 25 and you want to rip through this guy, that works great. But when you're my size and my age, that really doesn't work so well. The next 2 types of joint locks, what they do is they complement each other. They're the yin and yang of joint locking. There's the soft version, and then there's a little more of an aggressive version. The soft version is more whip. So if he grabs me, and I can learn to go into positions and kind of shake him and loosen him and wave into things. Right? If he comes in, I come into something like this, and then I have like these waves. I have these ability to do things like this. They're very whippy. If you watch the body, you'll see how like my whole body is involved, and they wave into techniques. Yes, I can see the complaint already. If this guy is really tense, I'm not going to be able to whip him, and that's true. This only works if you put him into a position of weakness to where he can't resist, and when you add these little waves to it and these little motions, that you can put them on quick. So when you do these, I don't care what the lock is, this, or any of them. The only way they work is if I hit him, or I set him, or I drag him, and then if I want to go into something and wave it up, it works really well. So remember, it's not the lock that makes this happen. It's the initial position that makes this happen. If you don't get that initial setup, none of these work. How you practice these, really simple, is you want to get a feel for how this waves. So you want to take the body and you want to feel with your body how this whips and waves, and do it slow. You don't want to crack your partner too hard, especially if they're not used to it. You want to get the feel of how when I do this. Do you see how that offset his body? And I offset his body this way, or I take him that way, or I set him up. Don't worry about the lock at first. Worry about the position. Worry about the setup. And then when you get him to that setup, then you got to study and see, okay, what lock applies at that position. The third type of joint locking is more of a tension type joint locking. Like I said, this is very soft. This will be more tense, but it's a different tension. The first tension I showed you in the beginning of the tape was muscle tension, where I flex like I'm a bodybuilder or a lifter, and I'm trying to use muscle to force this. What I'm using here is ligament tendon tensing. It's much more refined. It's very soft. So if he grabs me, what I want to do is I don't want to tense and flex. I just want to bring enough tension to this point where it gives support where I don't collapse. So what I do is I walk, and I use this little tension in my arm, not in my body, in my arm and my wrist, so I can move him around. I find these work really good when people, they flex really hard and they get really strong, and you have to have that ability to turn them, to go into something. These work from rotation. It's almost like the old blocks. We have things like this, or like this, or like this. If you don't have rotation in the joints, even with that little bit of tension, it doesn't work. If he grabs me and he's strong and I just muscle against it, we're just fighting each other. But if I add circles to it, all of a sudden that works. Now, what I want to do is I want to maintain a little bit of this tension because I want to drive him. What I want is tension, and I want to be able to move him and shift him. If I go like this and then I go loose, I don't have any way to position him properly. So I set him, I use that tension, and then I come in and I use my work. So this is a tricky one. It's probably the hardest one to do. For years I struggled with this because what I would do is I would fight against his energy. If you see he's coming straight and I'm coming straight and I go against him, it's just a war. But what I want to do is I want to learn to take it to his weak positions, and I want to use my feet. So I maintain a little lock in the body, I move my feet, I turn him enough, and this is what sets up these things nicely. It doesn't matter the lock's irrelevant. I don't care what the lock is. The point is I need to position him so that I can get to that lock. Not unlike the last one, if you don't set him first, it doesn't work. If you just go and try to go and lock him right away, you're wasting your time. Make sure you use that tension, set him, put him in that position, lock him, and then put him down. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe. Leave comments. Feel free to share. It helps the channel grow.